had to tell you about heartbreak in the form of a book, I would be telling you about 1,000 Splendid Suns. This book is gut-wrenching, heartbreaking from the first page to the last page. This is my first 6-star of the year. Let's get into it. All I have to say is, what a book. I absolutely bow to the author. Hi book lovers and book curious people, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for tuning in. If you read this book, I just want to check on you. Are you okay? And if you're planning on reading it, oh friend, you're probably going to need a support group after reading this one. Let's talk about it. I have so much to say about the book that I came prepared with my notes. The book starts off with Miriam, who's a teenage girl who lives with her mother Nana, and they're quite isolated. Miriam is Nana's entire world, entire universe. But Miriam wants more for herself. She wanders beyond the stream, beyond the hills, beyond this little isolated place where she stays. What's going on the other side? And she has a father who stays on the other side. And the story of Miriam and her mother is so sad in that Miriam's mother was emotionally unavailable. But you understand why. You understand why Nana couldn't be there for Miriam like that. It doesn't make it easy because I think for me reading the book, I had an understanding for both Nana and Miriam in the situation that they were both in that Nana just emotionally could not be there. And because of that, I think it influenced quite a lot of her parenting style. At the same time, Nana, I think, felt this weight to protect Miriam, to protect her from the things that she's been through. Of course, the way she went about it is questionable, but who are we to judge Nana for how she went about it? I think Nana saw the innocence that Miriam carried, the hope that Miriam had, the hope that the world was going to be kind and accepting to her. And with that, I think Nana became harsh. She became harsh to sort of take away this innocence, to chip away at this hope, because she knew on the other side what kind of reality awaits for Miriam. And then the book moves on to where now Miriam finds herself alone. And when Miriam finds herself alone, she thinks, of course, the father that she adores so much would be welcoming of her, would be accepting of her, would open up a whole new world for her. But Miriam soon realizes that Nana was right. She was innocent, she was naive, she was hopeful. She had quite an unrealistic expectation of how the world would welcome her. And I think it was then that Miriam began to understand Nana. She began to see Nana beyond an unhappy mother. She began to see the humanity of Nana. And unfortunately, she had to see Nana in a different light, through a lot of hardship, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of grief. Jalil, as a father to Miriam, I think he was someone who was a father to her for his own needs. I think that was what Nana was trying so desperately to communicate to Miriam. In the end, Miriam's father and his wives chose how others perceive them. That was of importance to them compared to Miriam. And I think it was in that moment where the reality of her position in society hit her, where Miriam understood why Nana kept enforcing their positionality. And from there, with Miriam now finding her father having chosen to put first how he's perceived by others and his position in society over her, she finds herself having to fend for herself. And with that, when you have to fend for yourself, you don't have many choices. You end up just accepting what comes. And with that came more heartbreak over Miriam's life. With that came so much pain. And I think physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually for her. And I think with the book, it was, you see the full development of Miriam from a teenager to a woman well above her 40s. And how from her teenage years, actually from the moment she was born, if we go by what Nana described, to the adult and the woman she grew into, it's marked by so much grief. It's marked by Miriam just putting up with a lot, but not showing. It's marked by Miriam dealing with her own things on her own. It's marked with Miriam just doing what she needs to do to survive and to see the next day. But it's also marked by so much in her character where Miriam is not selfish. She's welcoming even though she's going through her own things, even though she's struggling with a lot. And that's how in the book there's an introduction of Layla. Layla and Miriam meet when Layla is a teenage girl, and I think there's such beautiful parallels between when Miriam was a teenager and when she meets Layla as a teenager, in the sense that Layla also has a mother who is just emotionally unavailable, a mother who seems to be struggling quite a lot mentally, and a mother who's not functional. Those parallels start this beautiful bond between them that also resembles a relationship of a mother-daughter, unintentionally so. And I think we see how Miriam carries motherhood through her relationship with Layla. The sacrifices, the patience, how she contained Layla's emotions, how she tried to protect Layla. And I think it's safe to say at any cost at any cost. Their friendship was so beautiful, was so wonderful. And I'd like to think it influenced how Layla also showed up as a mother. This book is there's just constant heartbreak. There's constant grief. There's constant questioning of why isn't anything getting better? If anything, after reading this book, I'd like to say I found myself in a bit of an existential crisis. And before I explain more on that, let's get in the themes that come up in this book. The themes that come up in the book, for me, they included emotionally unavailable mothers and civil unrest and war. Religion. To me, previously saying that this book brought up an existential crisis because looking at how faith was used by different characters in the book, by different people in society and their positionality in society, I couldn't help but think that the people who were minority, who were part of the vulnerable groups, didn't decide their own fate. They didn't have free will. They couldn't make choices for themselves. They experienced brutal conditions. They experienced violence. They experienced different violations. They experienced inhumane treatment, but they still held on to faith. And that for me caused a discomfort, and that for me caused this existential crisis, in that the same faith you're holding on is in other parts used to treat you in this manner. It is used to add to your grief, to your hardship, to your sadness, to the violence, to the brutality that you're experiencing. And I think the existential crisis continued when I asked myself, there is no fate, there is no free will. And more so when I thought of different parts of the world where there is civil unrest, where there is war happening as I read this book. It's like for people in those situations, more so people that are vulnerable, that are minority, that can't make choices, that can't escape the brutality of civil unrest and wars. It is not an easy book to read. It is not an easy book to read at all. But I think it's a book that needs to be read. I think once in your lifetime, it's a book worth picking up and reading. But going into it knowing that it is going to emotionally and mentally challenge you, especially if you're somebody who's aware of what's happening in the world and what's taking place in different regions, territories, countries. It's going to bring out a lot. I think also if you're a critical thinker, I think this book is just going to leave you with a lot of questions. about the world we live in, about the different realities that we're exposed to, but also the faith we hold on, and how that very same faith, regardless of your religion or belief system, can be used against you. If you've read 1,000 Splendid Suns, please let me know, what was your experience reading it? What were your thoughts? And after reading it, what was that experience like for you? And if you haven't read it, I urge you to add it to your to-be-read list. I think it's absolutely worth a read. And if you're still going to read it, let it take you on a journey. Fully immerse yourself within the lives of the characters, but also fully immerse yourself within the questions that will come up as you read it, within the emotions that you feel as you read it. Thank you for joining me on this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.